Hi everyone, Tracy here with Paper Closet Designs, and today's video is all about Halloween and the dome candy card holders. I am so excited. I have 5 new ones for you today. So this video is going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to show you all 5 of them through the whole way of construction from the very beginning till they're completely finished. But I will divide this up into chapters, so if you're looking for one specific card, you can find it. So before we get started, let me tell you the supplies that you're going to need. So you will need some tape or glue. I actually use both. This is the tape runner that I use. It's my Scotch ATG gun, and I use it with the 1/4-inch tape. And then I also use glue. So I tape the bigger parts and I glue down the smaller parts. The glue that I use is the Scotch Create Tacky Glue, and I put it into a smaller bottle so that when I do the tiny pieces, I have that little needle nose there. You will also need a pencil and a glue gun. I've got my Cricut glue gun over there heating up. You want a high temperature glue gun. The low temperatures will work, but I find that the domes pop off if I use the low temp. You will need a Christmas ball ornament for every 2 cards that you make. So you use half of an ornament for each card. The size that these work with is the 1.3-inch Christmas balls. Now I get these at Amazon and I buy them in the bulk. In fact, when I was getting ready to put this video together this morning, I noticed that I am almost out, so I'm going to quickly order some more this afternoon. If you're not an Amazon customer, you can get them at Michael's. This is the brand that I believe I got this either at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Both of them sell them, and they are starting to carry these again already. I would suggest if you want to do these, grab them and stock up or go when they have them on 50%. And then if you are going to do the dial back, you will need some brads, and I just use the regular brads. The little scrapbook brads are too small. You just need these, and you can pick these up at anywhere. Target, Walmart, Smith's, anywhere that you shop, they have them. Excuse my finger, I have a blood blister and it's going to be distracting through this whole video, and I apologize. Anyway, you're going to need that if you are doing the dial back. Now, every card comes with both back options. It has a pull tab in the back or a dial back in the you can use either one. For each card, I'm only going to show one option, but I will show all or both options throughout the video. So we've got 5 cards. This is the mummy. I have a Frankenstein. I have a vampire. I have Witch's Brew, and I have a skeleton. The Witch's Brew and the skeleton are a little bit different than the first 3. But we are going to start today with our mummy card. So let me show you what comes with that, and then we'll go ahead and assemble it. So I have my half of my dome already. This one I'm going to do the pull tab, so I don't need the brad. We have his little feet, 2 hands, the frame, his nose, those are his eyelids. His 2 eyes have the holes cut out for it. And then in order to make this look really good, like a mummy wrap, I did it in a couple of different pieces. So you have the top piece, looks like this. Then your next layer looks like this, and it has the eyes cut out. This is the base of the mummy, so I did it in a gray. Then you'll have your black piece, and this piece, the color of your eyes are going to be. So you could do this in black or blue, but this will show through your eyes. And then you have your final back piece with the pull tab. So to get started on this one card and this card only, I am going to shade it with some inking, and I'll show you how to do that. So to start off with, I'm going to flip my card to the back. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera, but there's a little pull tab. I'm not going to bend it, but I do just kind of train it to pop out just a little bit, like that. And then what we'll do, I'm going to slide those to the side for a minute, is I'm going to take this black piece, and I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw the circle all the way around on the inside. That is where we're going to place the dome. And in order for this to line up, we want that as close to there as we can get. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that off. You can see that it's got the circle. And then for this card, like I said, I'm going to do some inking. So when I do my shading, I use the Distress Crayons. And these are by Tim Holtz, but there's other brands you can get. And then I just use a makeup sponge that I've actually cut in half. So all you're going to do is take your makeup sponge and color, or take the crayon and color on that sponge just a little bit. And then we're going to go ahead and ink this up. And I'm going really light. I don't want this to look really gauby. And you don't even have to do this. You could actually cut these two layers out of two different shades of paper if you wanted to, and it would give it the same look. But I do want it to have, you know, so the wraps, the band-aids, whatever you want to call these that are wrapped around the mummy, they have a little bit of dimension going. Whoa, sorry, hitting the camera. Don't worry about doing the inside of the circle, because the frame is going to cover that, or the outside of the circle. I'm just doing the edges of the wrap. And then we're going to take the second one and do the same thing. If your sponge needs a little bit of more ink, you can just add that on. For those that have asked about this, I do this same technique when I do my wood pieces after they're painted to add some shadow, and it works really well. I love these Distress Crayons. I've been using them for over a year now, and they are my favorite. If you don't have the Distress Crayons, you could do this step with chalk. You could do it with your ink pads, the dauber tools. There's a lot of ways. Or, like I said, you don't have to even ink these if you don't want to. We're just going to go around here. I'm not going to do the eyes. The eyes aren't going to show because the actual eyeball will be covering that, but I am going to do across there. And you can go really heavy if you like the heavier look. I do like a little bit lighter, depending on what I'm doing. And I think that's the last one. I'm running out of ink again. I'm going to try really hard to stay in the camera. Okay, so once that's done, on this one, I am going to also ink up with the gray again, the eyelids and the finger and the nose. I'm just going to, and so color-wise, paper-wise, I cut my mummy out of like a cream color, and then these other accent pieces I did out of a really light gray. And then the frame I did out of orange because I wanted it to have a little bit more Halloween color, and the feet I did with black. So those are the colors I used. You can be creative and do whatever colors you would like. Let's add just a little more to that. I'm doing this really fast. You can take your time and really give it the look that you want. Okay, this little piece is his nose. And then we have the two hands, and I'm also going to just do those really quick. All right. Good enough. I could spend some more time on that, but I'm not going to. Okay, so now let's go ahead and assemble the top part of our mummy. I'm going to slide those out. I'm going to take my gray piece and I'm going to put some tape on it. And for this one, I'm just using the tape runner. And we're going to match up the holes. That's the most important thing, is matching up the hole. Don't worry too much about the bottom or the top. That's actually going to be his hair. So I guess I said the eyes would show through, but the hair is also going to show through. All right. And then we're going to take this piece. And I can't remember which one I did first. Yeah, we're going to take this piece and tape it down. Matching up the holes again. So I'm going to match up the eyes and the hole for the dome. Smooth it down. Okay, this piece also has a little bit of cutouts for the eyes, so you're going to know which direction that it goes. And you could actually lay this down just like that, or you can put it up with some foam pop dots. So that's what I'm going to do. Anybody that knows me knows that I love the foam pop dots, and I just buy the foam tape. Cut off some pieces. Whoops, come on. I just think this gives it a little bit of extra added dimension. And you can get this in different thicknesses. And it doesn't really take a whole lot. I like to buy it on the roll because I can cut it down to the size I need. And I don't feel like I'm being really wasteful with it. So now let's go ahead and remove the backings on all of these. And then we can just flip it over and line it up again, matching the holes. So the holes for the eyes and the holes for the dome. Oh, it's stuck to my finger. And there is our little mummy body. So now we need to add the eyes, and you can add the eyes any direction that you want. Down here, however you want them. And I'm going to use my little tiny glue bottle. trying to work around the camera stand. And then we have his eyelids. Now, because I put foam tape on this one, but not on the one below, you might want to add a little bit of foam to the eyelids, or make sure that you glue it right onto the eyeball. Which is what I'm going to do. I just put a little bit of glue on there. And again, those little eyelids can go any direction you want them. You could even put them up so they're kind of in the hairline, whatever you want. Next up, we have our little nose. And at this point, I'm going to stop adding pieces to my face, and you'll see why here in just a second. The next thing that we are going to do is we're going to take the dome and we are going to fill it up and glue it to the back of the card. Now, when you do the pull tab, you have to fill the candy first. So I've just bought some little, whoa, they're running all over, some little pumpkin balls. I'm going to put a couple in there, make sure that they can hold down flat. And then all we're going to do is take our dome and line it up right along that circle. This tab that you use to hang the ornament on your tree, we don't want that on top of the tab that we need to pull. So I'm going to just line it up right there on that line, make sure everything's lined up, and then I'm going to turn the dome so that it is away from the pull tab. You can have it all the way down to the bottom, you can have it on the side, doesn't really matter. You want to make sure that that dome is lined up as good as you can get it on your line. And then we're going to take our glue gun and we're just going to run a bead of glue all the way around except where the pull tab is. So you want to start and stop around the pull tab. And it can be kind of messy looking. You're not going to see this. You just want to make sure that it's on there really well. Okay. Now we can bring that over and we can bring our little face. We're going to flip it over and we are going to put foam tape on this. The reason I use foam tape on this part is because that tab sits a little bit higher, and so when I try to glue this on, sometimes it makes it a little bit wobbly. So I like to just add the foam tape and it lifts that up and gets it out of the way of the dome. Let's do that piece there, and let's do one more in that other corner. And then we can just bring this over here and tape it down. Push it all the way around. Make sure that tape is holding. And if you need some more on the corners, you can do that. And now I can finish him off. So the next step is I'm going to glue my feet. So that's some tape to that. Pull them up here and add my feet down to the bottom. And then I can add my hands as well. And you could foam, put those on with foam or tape. The last thing that you have is your frame. Now this is an optional piece. I like it. It kind of gives it a finished look. And you can decide if you want it above the hands or below. I think I'm going to put it on before I put my hands on, so it kind of looks like he's holding them. And the easiest way to do that is just take your little glue again and put some glue in a few spots. Flip it over, make sure it's all nice and tight around there. And then we can add our hands. On there, and our little mummy is done. Isn't he just cute? You flip him over and you've got the pull tab to access the candy, and he is all ready for your Halloween. The next one that we're going to do is our Frankenstein, and he goes together pretty much the same as the mummy did. Let me show you the pieces. On this one, I am going to do a dial back, so I will need a brad. Set that aside, and there's my dome. On the dial back, you have a dial piece, and then you have two washers. These washers are really important to get the dial to work. We have a frame. We have his hands, his feet, his eyelids, his nose, and I cut all of those out of a darker green. Then we have the eyeballs. They have the holes in them again. We have a piece of hair, his face. So this has the stitches and his eyes and the hole cut out. So you're going to want to cut this out of your green. We have the black piece, and this is going to show his stitch mark and his eyes. So again, you'll want to do this out of black most likely. And then your back piece, and it has the window for your candy to get out. It also has the antennas, and it has the shapes of where the hands and the feet are going to go. And then you'll have your back piece right there. We're going to set those aside for just a minute. And I'm going to take my back piece, and then I'm going to take my big black piece, and I'm going to lay it on there. And this does not have a shadow, so we're going to match it up along the top. And now I know where to draw my circle for my dome. So we did this with the pull tab. We also do this with the dial back. You want that circle so you know right where to put your dome. Now, before we add the dome on there, I need to add the back piece. So I don't know what it's my brad. There's my brad. We're going to take the final back piece and flip it over and put the brad through it. We want to add one washer. We're going to add our dial piece. And it doesn't matter if you do this with the hole on the top or down when we're assembling it. And then your next washer. And I turn my brad so that the prongs open this way, not up into the window. And then our back piece goes, we want the circle that we drew in the front, so we're going to just line that up. So there is your, it's almost like a sandwich. You have your back piece, a washer, the dial, another washer, and then the final back piece. And we're going to go ahead and open that brad up. And then we need to glue this piece down. And when you're gluing this, you want to make sure that you don't get glue anywhere near the dial. You want to just glue the edge. And so some of these, the edge is quite a ways away, and others it's really close, especially when we get to the skeleton and the witch's brew. You'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to take my glue and add a bead of glue along the sides and the top. You don't need to put it on the bottom. In fact, you don't want to put it on the bottom. And then once you get that down, you're going to want to make sure that your dial turns. And if it's not turning, there's two reasons for it. The first is you forgot your washers, and so it doesn't turn. Or the second is you've got glue too close to where that goes. So there is our dial. Okay, we're going to go ahead and flip that over, and let's assemble our little face. So again, on this one, you could, if you wanted to, you could ink these all up. I'm not going to take the time. If you jump forward on this, you can go back and watch the inking on the little mummy, but on this one, I'm not going to do it. So I have my black piece, and then I'm going to take the green piece, flip it over, put tape on it, and then add it on top of that black background. Line everything up. This one goes together a lot quicker. So next we have our hair. Let's add our hair. And then our eyes. And you can make those run in any direction. You can put the bigger part on the top, on the bottom, wherever you would like. You can have them kind of turned in or turned out. Next up is our eyelids. And you could ink those up if you wanted to. You could add them on with your foam pop dots. I think I'll just glue these on this time. Maybe get those corners a little bit better. You could even put him down so, you know, it looks like he's a little bit sleepier. Like that. However you want your eyes to look. Okay, next we have the nose. And the nose, I don't know how well you can see that on the camera. It's kind of cut at a curve, so it goes right along the curve of where the dome is going to go. Okay, let's add our dome next before we finish this off. So we're going to do the same thing. We've drawn that line all the way around. I'm going to take my dome and I'm going to put it on here. Now, again, this tab, I don't like it right over the opening, so I usually move it down. When you're doing the dial opening, you do not need to fill the dome first. You can just put it on empty and then we can go ahead and fill it. So let's make sure that's on there really close to that line. Take our glue gun and we're going to do all the way around. If the dome happens to be over the window, you might not want to put, oh, I'm running out of glue. You might not want to put the glue right over the window because you don't want the dial to start sticking. This one is not laying on there, so I got my my line on there good. And I'm just gonna go ahead and fill that up. Okay, now that that is done, we can add our face. So I'm gonna flip it over and I'm going to get the tape again, the foam tape, because I've got that little edge. So I need to build up over it. There's one piece. Okay. And so we've got tape in the corners or across the top. And you'll see why this back piece I cut out of gray, because that's his little bolt sticking out of his head. And I wanted him gray. So we're gonna go ahead and add that on there. Press everything down. Okay, and now we can add his feet. And the frame, if you want the frame, again, completely optional. And then his hands. So I'm gonna do the frame first, and then we're gonna add the hands so that it looks like he's holding that. Put some glue on the hands. And this one does have a little bit of shadow. It almost looks like wings. That's just to add your hands on there. I didn't do it on the mummy because with all the layers, I wasn't sure that everything would match up perfectly, but on this one and on the vampire, we do have them. So it just helps you kind of line those up. Okay, there is Frankenstein. He's very cute. He is probably my favorite Halloween monster. Okay, we can turn this over. We've got the window open. So I'm just gonna fill it up with some candy corn this time. So I'm gonna attempt to. There we go. Do you like candy corns? Some people love them, some people hate them. I don't particularly love them, but my husband does, so we usually have lots of candy corn around Halloween. You just want to fill that up so that it's full, but the dial will still turn. I think we've got enough room for a few more. And it doesn't matter if you do bigger candies or little candies in here. In fact, you don't even have to do candy. You could put money or a little tiny gift in there. Let's close it up. And there is our cute little Frankenstein. Okay, next one. This is our vampire, and I am also going to do him with a dial back. Let me show you the pieces. Since it's a dial back, you will need your brad and your half of your ornament. He's pretty much the same as our Frankenstein was. Has a frame, 2 hands, a nose, the eyelids, the hair, the eyeballs. This one has 2 teeth. Your feet. The front face, which I did out of a darker purple. And this one kind of looks like it's got a little devil cut out of it, or horns or something. That's actually for the mouth. Then we have our black piece. This will be what the mouth and the eyes show through. We have the back piece. This one has the dial back, so it's got the half circle cut out. The dial piece, your 2 washers, and the very back. We're going to take the back piece and our black piece and line it up again, matching the top. And the first thing we're going to do is draw that circle. Let's go ahead, and while we've got everything out, let's just go ahead and assemble the back piece. So we're going to take our brad, we're going to take this back piece and flip it over, put the brad through, and then we have 1 washer, we have the dial piece, second washer, and then we want this piece with the circle that we've drawn facing up. Push that all together and open up the brad. Flip it over and let's glue this piece down. So let me find my glue. And we're going to just glue that all the way down around there. Watching that you don't get any glue next to the dial. All right, let's go ahead and glue the dial on. That way it can kind of, or the dome on, I'm sorry. We're going to take our dome and we're going to lay it right on the line that we drew with the little hang tag down away from the opening. It can be pointed all the way down if you wanted. It can be off to the side, but you want it pointed away from the opening. And line that up right on the line that we drew. And let's go ahead and glue it down. Whoa, I'm getting glue on my table. That's not good. Be careful around the top that you don't get it on the dial piece if the dial piece is poking or the dome is down far enough that it's laying on that dial piece. Okay, we're going to set that aside and we are going to go ahead and build our face. So we have the black piece. We're going to take our darker purple and just add some tape to it. And then match everything up. I'm going to start with my teeth. Where's my other little tooth? Well, there it is. Because what I'm going to do with these teeth is I'm going to put a little bit of glue on them. But then I'm going to slide it under that mouthpiece, just barely, like that. show you again. So I just slid it right underneath. Pull this up so you can see it right underneath there. Just a little bit. And you don't have to do this if you've taped it down, or you can just lay it right on the edge. I just kind of like that it has that finished look. Okay, let's take our hair and tape our hair on. And next is our eyes. Run them any direction you want. You just want to match up the holes. Can add our nose. This one would be fun inked up as well. Give it a little bit of dimension, like I did with the mummy. Gonna kind of put his eyelids down a little bit lower, so it looks like he's kind of a drowsy vampire. All right, now we have this piece that already has our dome glued onto it. So we can turn our face over, and what's next? Foam tape. Peel those off. Oh, my husband is working from home today, and I can hear him in his office moving around. Okay, so we're gonna just line up our face. Can add our feet next. Add the frame. And I cut my frame this time out of red, just because I think, oops, that came off. There we go, because I think vampires have some red on them somewhere. So I cut the frame out of the red. And then we have his hands. Just place him using that back piece as your guide. And what should we fill him with? I have some Reese's Pieces. Let's do that. I'm going to flip them over. Grab my Reese's Pieces. I have a Winco just around the corner for me, and they sell candy in bulk. And I love it, because then I can get exactly what I need. Close that up. And there is our Frankenstein. So I have 2 more to do, but this video is getting a little bit long. So I'm going to go ahead and do them, but I may end up having to put it in 2 parts to get it on YouTube. We'll see what happens. Okay, the next one is our Witch's Brew. And this one is a little bit smaller. And I'm going to do the pull tab on this one. So let me show you what we have. Of course, we have the dome, but we do not need a brad because this is the pull tab. We have a frame. We have the bubbles or potion, whatever you would like to call that. This is an optional piece. It is the brim to the cauldron. The cauldron already has a brim on it, so this just gives it some dimension. You could ink it up if you're cutting it out of two different colors of paper or two different shades. So this piece is optional, but I am going to use it. Then we have the cauldron itself. We have the little buckles for the witch's shoes. There's two of them. They're kind of tiny, but they'll cut. We have two shoes. These are cut out separately. We have an orange piece. And really the only piece that is going to show on here once it's put together is the stripes. So you can do this out of any color that you want. It's the stripes that you want. If you don't want your witch to have stripes on her socks, you could even not use this piece. However, it also gives it strength to your dome. I've said in the past that you want something that has at least 3 layers on it so that it can hold those domes, because they can get heavy. Okay, this is our black piece, and then this is the back piece with the pull tab. So if you're doing the dial back, this would have the half circle, and then you'd have the dial, the washers, and another piece for the back. And it's only like a half circle that goes on the back here. Okay, so since this is the pull tab, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to grab the pull, and I'm just going to kind of train it or bend it to go towards me. Let's flip it back over. And let's take our black piece. And this one does have a little bit of a shadow behind it. It doesn't line up exactly. So when you lay this on here to trace your dome, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of shadow all the way around and that it's pretty even. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want it to be pretty even. Take your pencil and draw that circle again. Because we're doing this with the pull tab, we have to fill our dome first. And I'm going to fill this one with some gummy worms. I thought that would be good for a witch's brew, right? Put some little gummy worms in there. You could do eyeballs. There'd be all kinds of fun stuff to do in there. Okay, once that's in there, we're going to lay it down onto our back piece, and we're going to line that up as best we can. Now this one is purple, so it's kind of hard to see my line. And I'm going to take this tab right here that I would hang, and I'm going to move it. I'm going to actually kind of put it over so that it's kind of inside one of the legs of the cauldron. Make sure that's lined up. Looks pretty good to me. And now we can just add our glue. Do not put glue on the pull tab part. So go all the way around it, but stop and start when you get to the pull tab. And we're just going to let that dry for a minute while we assemble. Whoops, I bumped that now. Ooh. Okay, I think I got it right back on, I think. It wasn't quite dry and I moved it and bumped it. All right, so we're gonna start with our black piece, and then we're going to add the piece that has our stripes. And I'm just gonna use my glue and kind of add some glue. You don't have to get it all down there, but go ahead and glue that on there. Match up everything. And I got to get above that so I can see that it's all matched up. Oh, I may have not gotten that one. Okay. And now we can take our cauldron and we can go ahead and glue that on there. I'm going to just this time use tape. I may need some glue on the legs. They're kind of tiny. Match up the circle, the dome, that's what matters most. And then you can make everything else kind of fit. Okay, I'm gonna add my little feet next, the boots. And I do think that I'm going to take my brim and I'm going to put some pop dots on that just to give it, because I cut them both out of black and I didn't ink it. If I pop it up, you'll be able to see that it's two different pieces. Let's add our bubbles, our potion. And then I'm going to actually put the belt buckles on once I get it onto the back piece. So we have the back piece and then we have the Brew, the front. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to put pop dots on it. Now these pieces are a little bit smaller, so you might not need quite as much, or you'll need to cut your pieces a little bit tinier. Let's see, let's do one right there on the leg. And then I'm going to do two skinny pieces. Take these off, the back pieces. Let's go ahead and flip it over and line it up. It may not be exact, and that's okay. That's why I made that back piece to have kind of a shadow, because I knew this one was going to be a little bit harder to line up. And remember, I bumped my dome when I moved it, so it might be off just a little bit. There we go. Okay, next up we can add our belt buckles to our shoes. And then finally the frame, which again, you don't have to use the frame if you don't want to. I just think it gives it a nice finishing touch. But I know plenty of people that don't put it on there, and that's fine too. And there is our Witch's Brew with gummy worms. Wouldn't this be fun with cut out of glitter paper, either the cauldron or the shoes or both? Such a fun little one. Okay, the last one. Our last one is the skeleton, and I saved it for last because it's probably not hard, but it has the most little pieces. And we are going to do this one again with a dial back. So let's go ahead and show you the pieces that you'll need, and then we will assemble it. So because it's the dial back, you'll need your brad, and you will also need the dome. Here's where the little pieces come in. It's the skeleton pieces. So we have his skull and his jaw. We have the 2 arm bones. We have these 2 pieces that are the hands, and then we have 6 fingers, 3 on each hand. I know, everybody has 5. I did it with 3 just because I would have had to do those even tinier. And I actually cut out a couple of extra bone pieces because I think I dropped some on the ground, and there we go. Okay, then we have our frame. We have a hat with a hat band. We have the gray piece, and it has the eyes cut out and the nose and the eyebrows, and there is a little bit of shadow behind this. So I did it in gray. And then you have your background piece, or your black piece, excuse me. The only piece that shows out of this one, I believe, is the eyes and the nose and the eyebrows. And then we have our back piece. This is the dial back, so it's got this semicircle in it. If you have the pull tab, it'll just have a pull tab and you're done. And then we have the dial, the back, and the 2 washers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to take my gray piece because it's the next layer on there, and I'm going to lay it down, and on this one there is also a shadow. So we are going to lay that down. Oops, let me move this into the camera so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to lay this down so that there's a shadow all the way around it, and then draw our circle. Let's take our back piece. Now this back piece is smaller, and this is pretty much the same one that you would get if you were doing the witch's cauldron. It's going to look like this. So we're going to put our brad through it. Our washer. The dial piece. I had someone email me and ask me if I have to do the dial piece in a different color, and you don't. I could have done this out of purple too. I just do it out of different colors so that it's easier to see when I'm showing the videos. And then your washer. Going to put this with the circle that you've drawn face up. And we're going to open that brad up. I'm going to flip this over, and now we're going to line everything up, and then we need to glue this window or this back piece down. And it is a lot thinner, so you're going to really want to make sure that you only get glue on the very edge, which is when this comes in handy with the tiny needle up on the top instead of a great big huge glob of glue. And I really am going to do it right on the edge. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I'm doing it right along the edge. Again, right along the edge. Whoops. And a thin, thin line. These smaller ones might be easier with the pull tab, but I know a lot of people really like this dial. I like the dial, so I did it. But you're going to have to really watch that glue so that your dial will spin. Let me give that just a second to dry, and then we will double check it. Okay, and it does. It spins. It's tight, but it does spin. It's really tight, but it does spin. Okay, there we go. So let's flip that over, and I'm going to take my dome, and I'm going to lay it right on that line. Now this time I still don't want this tab up by my hole, but I'm afraid if I put it down here, it's too close to the edge. So I'm going to kind of put it over onto the side here where we've got some room to work with it. Let's make sure that's all lined up this time. Unlike the last time when my line is not very dark. I'm going to do the line one more time because I'm having a hard time seeing it. That purple is just kind of hard to see. And I didn't think about that when I did that. You could cut this out of orange as well, or green, much better. That's my finger. Okay, let's get that over there. Make sure that it's on the line everywhere. Okay, and grab our glue gun. And let's just glue all the way around. I'm about out of glue again. And I didn't bring another piece over, so. Okay. I've got some more glue so I can finish that. Let's move that to the side and build our little guy. So we have our black piece first. Hope I got some glue. Let's grab and hold of that. So we have our black piece first. We're going to take our gray piece that has the eyes cut out and add some glue to that. So I added glue to that piece, and then we're going to just line everything up. And there we go. Okay, now we have to build our skeleton. The easiest way to do this is to start with the skull, the face, because it has something that we can line things up with. So I'm going to line that all up. And press it down. And then we have our jaw. I'm going to put some glue on that. And then we have our arm bones. And this has a pretty big shadow around it, so you can just kind of decide where you want those pieces to go. They don't have to be precise. I knew if I tried to make this precise, it would drive everybody, including me, nuts. So just lay them on there. We're going to hold off on the hands for just a minute. We're going to go ahead and add his hat. And you could do his hat with pop dots if you wanted to. I'm just going to glue that on there. This video is getting really long. Okay, let's bring down our dome piece and our little skeleton guy. We're going to flip him over and add pop dots again, the foam tape. I think I'll do 2 smaller pieces on his hands. On the one hand, we have the hang tab, so we don't want to get in the way of that. And I'm not going to worry about that bottom piece. It's too skinny, so it's okay. Line him up as best we can. And now we can add the frame. So just a little bit of glue on the frame. And it will be covering part of his jawbone and his arm bones. That's all right. And now we do the hands. And the hands are pretty simple. So this kind of, I don't know, it's almost an apple shape. Goes right here on the side. And then you can add your fingers however you want them. And these are tiny pieces. Your machine will cut them out. I've done this with both the Silhouette and the Cricut. Both work fine. And we're just going to add those. Might be easier to do it this way. And I said I cut a couple of those extras out because I was afraid I was going to drop them on the floor. So you could do 2 fingers, you could do 1 finger, you could do none. You could just have that as like just your hand. I'm going to move that piece up a little bit right there. And there is our skeleton. Let's flip him over. And this time I have some eyeball candy. So I got those at Winco. They have little eyeballs. Fill that up. I don't have very many of them, so I don't know if I'll get it filled or not. Oh, and probably that's good. Okay, then we close it up. That is tight. And there is our skeleton. Isn't he cute? So I hope that you will give some of these new dome cards a try. They are just a whole lot of fun. Thank you for joining me today. Hit subscribe down below so that you don't miss any of my videos, and have a great day.